Hello everyone and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. I'm Joshua Curving, and first we will deal with Batman vs. Black Panther, the season opener. It was a pretty good fight. They did a good job of covering what they needed to for the most part. The animation, I would say, was one of the better parts of it. It was decent, though there was sadly very little focus on any of the actual tools that the characters use. Both Batman and Black Panther are very heavy emphasis on their equipment, and we saw no energy daggers, very little of Batman's arsenal. I would have liked to have seen a bit more, though it was that animator's first time doing an animation for a death battle, so there is some lenience that you can have there. So it was it was okay. It was an okay season opener, and if a bit underwhelming. Luckily, one of the big things that I find with it in terms of the research is that they absolutely played it straight with the vibranium. There was no real way Batman could get through it, and that meant ultimately he lost. There was no possible method of his victory. So I suppose I should address the elephant in the room in regards to death battles, considering I skipped over the last one of these two. But fine, I'll talk about the friggin' ponies. Just my thing with it is that I have zero interest in MLP and don't want to spend time researching it. I wouldn't enjoy it, and it would make me not like doing these videos as much, and I find that that's just something I would rather skip over. In addition, sometimes the timing of these episodes is kind of bad. In particular, Pinkie Pie vs. Deadpool being chosen as a season finale is an absolute fucking travesty, and whoever decided to do that, that was a terrible decision. At least this one, you can take it slightly more seriously because it's not one being played up for comedy, so at the very least there's that. My only hope is that there's no more goddamn ponies, because 3 of them have gotten into death battle before characters from things like Tekken, Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed, any JRPG besides Final Fantasy VII, Sailor Moon, several great anime, Fire Emblem, just the list goes on, and that feels wrong. The joke is dead at this point, and any time where it shows up, the forums just have a nice 3-week session of, God damn it, why the ponies again? So just keep on the track that this episode is giving us, and keep away from the ponies. That's my personal opinion. You feel free to disagree if you're happy that so many characters from it are getting in, but I do personally just take issues with it. So, now on to this episode, which is best I've felt about a death battle in a long, long time, to the point where I'm actually writing script stuff for it, which I haven't had to do in a season and a half, probably. Because there's just been so many fights in the last, 2 seasons that they've just been stomps, so I've just not bothered to really script them. But with this one, I've got points jotted down and things I want to go over. There's legit hype behind this episode, which is Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure versus Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. Now, I haven't actually watched either of these series, but as a person who is aware of the anime, I'm definitely aware of both of these characters and a lot of their memes and abilities kind of relating to those memes. But this is more or less the first time where I've gotten to do a nice deep dive into either series. Almost got me to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, if not for it being so long. That's such a commitment right there. Anyway, so let's start with what Jotaro can do. Jotaro is a character who's prevalent in JoJo Part 3, 4, and 6. 6 being one of them that hasn't had an anime adaptation. That said, there will be spoilers later on, so if you're not caught up on the manga, beware. Anyone who is aware, you know exactly what I'm going to bring up. So the first thing to say about is that in order to talk about Jotaro, we need to talk about stands. A stand is a physical manifestation of the user's fighting spirit and cannot be seen or harmed by normal people. They enhance the user's capabilities and can often fight alongside or for their user, though the farther a stand travels from the user, the weaker it becomes. As well, any damage done to the stand is given to the user and vice versa. Jotaro's stand is Star Platinum, which is one that is used very often within the Joestar family. The strength and durability for Jotaro and Star Platinum. Star Platinum had managed to destroy several massive teeth, stated to have a hardness of diamond, but there are some calcs that put Star Platinum to about city block level. Jotaro himself has had very few direct strength feats. One of them is kicking a cop into a garage door and destroying it. But one of the big things is that Star Platinum can enhance Jotaro's stats himself. So it makes it more on his level. For speed, that's the thing with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters. Speed is the pride and joy of a lot of these characters. Star Chariot, which is one of the stands of, I believe it's Polnareff, moved comparable speeds to a stand moving as fast as his own reflection, which is, to say, light speed. Jotaro himself can perceive the actions of these stands, but is far more limited in his combat speed. Star Platinum, however, has no such limitation. So we have a light speed character with city block level stats. That is just a really massive disparity of just the difference between those stats where they would usually be is enormous. Normally when you have a character who has, say, planet level stats, they would have FTL feats to match. It's usually just this kind of rising level that goes up with each other. The higher the power, the more major the power showings, which means more likely other feats. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters have this weird gap where it's like city level stats, which would be like here, and then FTL speeds. So it makes for a very interesting discussion, especially in conjunction with an opponent that we're going to be talking about in a moment. For intelligence, as with all Joestars Kujos, he is very smart. He's a tactician and can come up with tricky maneuvers, though he, more than other JoJos, relies on overwhelming his opponents with sheer strength and speed. He also has plenty of experience with stands and reacting to their various hacksy abilities. And speaking of, we come to hacks. One of the big things for JoJo characters is that the stands all have their unique abilities, and Star Platinum's is the world, or as memes tell me, Zawardo. It is a 5-second time stop that Jotaro and Star Platinum can still take action in, manipulate objects, or simply attack. This is basically one of the big things for Star Platinum, is that it uses the time stop to just start pummeling the opponent and get tons of damage in. That said, he doesn't have too much hacks. It's basically just the one thing. Though Star Platinum can also work separate from Jotaro on a level that Jotaro himself sometimes doesn't comprehend. He has shown self-preservation in such a method as one time when Jotaro's heart stopped, he started to manually pump it. So that could be something interesting that they bring up with this fight, especially given the nature of Kenshiro. And that said, we come to Kenshiro. The main character of Fist of the North Star, and basically how I like to describe it, what's happening in Japan during Mad Max. There's not too much to say for Kenshiro's story. For the most part, he was betrayed by some of the people in his family when he was chosen over his adoptive brother to inherit basically the successor of the martial art prowess that they're doing. So let's go right into his stats for the most part to start. For strength and durability, Kenshiro is durable as all hell, and he has the ability to... he has the ability to make his strength not matter anyway. Kenshiro has gently tapped skyscrapers and made them fall on his head, snapping where they hit him, and he can take blows from Rao, who has an island-level feat with Cloud Dispersion. His attacks also negate durability, which is why I mentioned that his attack stat doesn't end up mattering much, especially because it's not mainly what he uses. For speed, Rao's blasts have reached the clouds at Mach 178, and Kenshiro can pretty casually react to and dodge them. Intelligence-wise, Kenshiro can memorize 50,000 words after reading them once, and is martial arts a genius, having mastered every ability in the Hokuto Shinken style. Speaking of, we come to Hokuto Shinken, as I like to call it, the pokes of death. Kenshiro strikes pressure points on the body and can achieve straight-up magic. These are commonly used to strike once and have the opponent explode in some gory fashion, but he has several other pokes for other purposes, such as expelling poisons from a target or oneself, breaking the effects of other pressure points on him, weakening the muscles to make any movement difficult, blasting ki from his hands in a projectile, erasing one's memories, inducing false death, controlling the opponent's body to do whatever he says, weird, preventing breathing, disabling eyesight, causing muscle contractions to crush the opponent's spine, pressure points that allowed Kenshiro to read Sanskrit. Yeah. I wonder if he has a poke for Spanish or French. That's just silly. Like, how does that even work? And one of my personal favorites, used on the opponent's Souther, an attack allowing him to invisibly place pressure points with his thoughts on the person. Not a pressure point, but he can also teleport. In addition, he has two ultimate abilities. Muso Tensei allows Kenshiro to become entirely intangible and erase opponents from existence on contact. With it, he can also communicate with the souls of dead rivals, and even when comatose or unconscious, he can fight on as a soul. Second one being the lesser-known Soryu Tenra. It transports the user and their opponent to a world of nothingness where defenses, auras, and barriers are non-existent, forcing both fighters to use only their fists. It is shown to work on abilities involving ki, so there is some debate as to what could be used with it. Oh, and when someone dies with this ability, they are erased from existence. One of the things with this ability, though, is that Kenshiro himself has never been shown to use it. Someone else used it, but it is stated that Kenshiro has mastered all the parts of Hokuto Shinken. So this is something that he would know, especially because he touched a stone to the goddess that Hokuto Shinken is connected to. There's other stuff with that, like, for example, the goddess makes it so that Kenshiro can't make bad decisions in combat, or something to that extent. And he basically saw the entire history of this martial art, which has been going on for, like, thousands of years or something. So you have this ability that he hasn't used, but there is no reason to believe he can't use it, because he has been stated to know everything within this martial art. So this fight has a lot going for it, and some debate as to what will work and what won't. The stand rules are the main source of this. Assuming they are taken at face value, where only a stand user can harm a stand or see them, Jotaro is in a very comfortable scenario where Star Platinum can block all of Kenshiro's attacks without being exploded. While I can see this argument and how it might be used by Death Battle, let's go with it for now to show a point, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. Kenshiro has affected souls before, and has an awareness for things like ki when it is being used by characters. I'll get more into the ki discussion in a moment. So let's assume this is the case. Jotaro can't be killed by Kenshiro now. Cool. Now what? Jotaro can't really hurt Kenshiro, and his time stop, while useful, can't be spammed, and still doesn't give Jotaro any means of actually winning. And that's without mentioning the Muso Tensei's intangibility and erasure capabilities. Meanwhile, Kenshiro gets even one hit in, and Jotaro explodes into fine red giblets. So not only can Kenshiro do this while being unable to see or damage Star Platinum due to his ability to think pressure points at people, if worse comes to worst, Kenshiro can use the Soryu Tenra to null Star Platinum out completely. Yes, I am indeed making that claim. Stands are formed of the user's fighting spirit, and that is very similar to the makeup of ki, making it likely that Soryu Tenra would in fact deprive Jotaro of it, and Star Platinum is the only thing that's actually keeping Jotaro even potentially in this fight. So ultimately, while Jotaro lacks many effective means to really hurt Kenshiro, Jotaro is constantly fighting an uphill battle where even the slightest graze would kill him. Should be obvious at this point, but I believe Kenshiro will be the winner of this death battle. I'll see you guys after this one, where we can hopefully have another nice one to sink my teeth into. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys then.